When I was a kid, I used to say to people like, when people would say, oh, my dad can beat up your dad, I'd be like, no, but really, my dad can beat up your dad. For sure, 100%.
The world remembers Bruce Lee as an untouchable icon. But in 2025, the fight to protect his legacy rests on one woman's shoulders. Long after the cameras stopped rolling and the myths grew louder than the man, his daughter stepped into a role she never asked for but refuses to abandon. She stands between truth and exploitation, philosophy and Hollywood distortion. This is the story of Bruce Lee's daughter in 2025, the last guardian of a legend. Only a few people know that Bruce Lee's daughter, Shannon's birth, came during a pivotal period in her father's life. As Bruce Lee was rapidly rising from martial arts instructor to international film icon, from the very beginning, her life was shaped by movement, cultural exchange, and global attention. She is the younger sibling of Brandon Lee, born in 1965, who would later follow in their father's footsteps as an actor before his tragic death in 1993 at the age of 28. The bond between Shannon and Brandon was deeply rooted in shared experiences of fame, loss, and legacy, and his passing would later become one of the most defining emotional moments of her life. According to the official Bruce Lee website, Shannon spent her early childhood moving between Los Angeles and Hong Kong, reflecting her father's international career and cultural influence. These formative years exposed her to both American and Chinese traditions, allowing her to absorb a bicultural identity from a very young age. However, this period was also marked by instability. When Bruce Lee suddenly passed away in 1973, Shannon was just 4 years old, and the loss profoundly altered the trajectory of her upbringing. In 1974, Linda Lee Cadwell brought Shannon back to Los Angeles, where the family put down more permanent roots. Growing up without her father, Shannon was raised largely outside the spotlight, with her mother determined to provide as normal a childhood as possible despite the enormous shadow of Bruce Lee's legacy. Still, the presence of her father's influence was unavoidable, embedded in family stories, film footage, and the global reverence surrounding his name. In fact, Shannon Lee's martial arts journey was never about simply inheriting a famous name. It was about earning her own understanding of the discipline, philosophy, and physical rigor that defined her father's life. Over the years, she trained seriously in multiple martial arts styles, building a well-rounded foundation that reflected both tradition and modern combat practice. According to Black Belt magazine, Shannon studied Jeet Kune Do, the revolutionary martial art created by Bruce Lee, as well as Taekwondo, expanding her skill set beyond her father's system. Her study of Jeet Kune Do began under Richard Bustillo, one of Bruce Lee's original students and a respected martial artist in his own right. Training with Bustillo gave Shannon a direct connection to her father's teachings, not through legend or secondhand stories, but through authentic lineage. However, it wasn't until the late 1990s that she began to pursue Jeet Kune Do more seriously, approaching it not just as a family legacy, but as a personal discipline that demanded commitment, humility, and hard work. When Shannon began preparing for action film roles, her training intensified. She worked closely with Ted Wong, another trusted student of Bruce Lee, who had been instrumental in preserving Jeet Kune Do after Bruce's death. Under Wong's guidance, Shannon refined her understanding of JKD's core principles: efficiency, adaptability, and personal expression, learning that the art was less about rigid technique and more about honest movement and self-discovery. This philosophy resonated deeply with her as she balanced martial training with acting. Beyond Jeet Kune Do, Shannon also studied Taekwondo with Dung Dolan, developing strong kicking techniques, balance, and flexibility. This training complemented her JKD foundation by emphasizing precision, control, and athletic conditioning. She further broadened her martial education by studying Wu with Eric Chun, which introduced her to fluid, expressive movement and traditional Chinese martial aesthetics. In addition, Shannon trained in kickboxing under legendary fighter Benny the Jet Urita, gaining exposure to full-contact combat, timing, and endurance. This diverse training background helped her move confidently across different fighting styles while reinforcing her belief that martial arts should evolve with the individual. Shannon attended Tulane in New Orleans from 1987 to 1991, choosing an environment far removed from Hollywood and the martial arts world most people associated with her family. The city's rich cultural atmosphere, steeped in music, performance, and artistic expression, proved to be an ideal setting for her personal and artistic growth. According to the official Bruce Lee website, Shannon earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts (BFA) in vocal performance, committing herself seriously to the study of music and stage performance. Her academic focus required rigorous technical training, including voice development, breath control, musical interpretation, and stage presence. During her time at Tulane, she immersed herself fully in the performing arts, appearing in musicals, operas, and concerts. Experiences that helped her build confidence and versatility as a performer. These performances were not merely extracurricular activities. They were an essential part of her artistic education. Through live theater and concert work, Shannon learned discipline, collaboration, and the emotional demands of performing before an audience. Skills that would later translate into her work as an actress and producer. College also offered her a sense of independence, allowing her to define herself beyond the legacy of her father, while still honoring the creativity that clearly ran in the family. Years later, in 2020, Shannon returned virtually to Tulane to reflect on that formative period. She participated in a live chat with Tulane alumni where she openly discussed her experiences as a student, the challenges of carrying Bruce Lee's legacy, and the winding path of her career. During the conversation, she emphasized how her time at Tulane helped shape her confidence, artistic curiosity, and sense of purpose. Shannon Lee's acting career began in a deeply personal way, rooted in both family history and cinematic legacy. In 1993, she earned her first acting role with a brief cameo in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, the biographical film that chronicled her father's life and career. While her appearance was small, the moment carried enormous emotional weight as the film was released the same year her brother Brandon Lee tragically passed away. For Shannon, stepping onto the set was not about seeking fame, but about honoring her family's story during a period of profound loss. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, Shannon continued to explore acting through a series of supporting and minor roles, steadily gaining on-set experience rather than chasing leading parts. She appeared in action-driven projects such as High Voltage and Enter the Eagles, where her martial arts background added authenticity to her performances. Her role in Blade further placed her within the action and genre film world, aligning naturally with her physical training and screen presence. Shannon also experimented with different tones and formats, taking roles in films like She, Me, and Her, which allowed her to move beyond pure action and explore character-driven storytelling. While none of these roles made her a mainstream star, they helped her understand the mechanics of film from blocking and choreography to camera work and collaboration with directors and crews. By the mid-2000s, Shannon began to reassess her place in front of the camera. Rather than pursuing acting as a long-term career, she found herself increasingly drawn to behind-the-scenes work where she could shape stories more holistically. This shift reflected a growing desire to contribute creatively without being confined to a single role or public identity. Her final on-screen appearance came in 2012 with the short film Tekken Reload, a project that blended action, gaming culture, and martial arts. The role served as a quiet bookend to her acting journey, allowing her to step away from performing on her own terms. Her first major foray into producing came in 2008 with the Chinese television series Li Xiaolong Chuanyi, translated internationally as The Legend of Bruce Lee. Spanning 50 episodes, the ambitious series traced Bruce Lee's journey from his early years in Hong Kong to his breakthrough in America, dramatizing his struggles, cultural barriers, and eventual rise to global fame. For Shannon, the project was not only a professional milestone, but also a deeply personal one, requiring careful balance between historical accuracy, storytelling, and cultural respect. Following the success of the series, Shannon continued to expand her role as a producer by overseeing 2 television movies focused on her father's legacy, released in 2009 and 2012, respectively. These projects further established her as a guardian of Bruce Lee's image, someone determined to move beyond surface-level myth-making and instead highlight his philosophy, discipline, and lasting cultural impact. Through these productions, Shannon refined her approach to storytelling, learning how to navigate international audiences while preserving the authenticity of her father's vision of her. A major breakthrough came in 2016 when Shannon announced she would serve as executive producer on Warrior, a martial arts crime drama developed for Cinemax. The series was based on an original concept created by Bruce Lee decades earlier, a fact that only fully came to light when actual written pages of his idea were rediscovered. Set in 1870s San Francisco, Warrior explores the violent power struggles of Chinatown during the Tong Wars, blending historical drama, martial arts, and social commentary. In an interview with Deadline, Shannon reflected on the long journey behind the project, saying, "Technically, if we're really starting from the beginning, the journey began 50 years ago with him. I'd always heard the story that he had created this and pitched it, but I guess I didn't know for sure that the actual pages existed." For her, Warrior represented the fulfillment of an idea her father never lived to see realized. The series premiered in 2019 and quickly gained a devoted fan base. After its initial run on Cinemax, Warrior was later picked up by Max, where its third season premiered in June 2023, solidifying its place as one of the most successful posthumous realizations of Bruce Lee's creative legacy. Through her producing work, Shannon Lee has emerged not just as a caretaker of history, but as a powerful creative force, bringing her father's unfinished visions to life. Shannon Lee's personal life has been defined by a careful balance between privacy, family tradition, and honoring a legendary legacy. In 1994, she married Ian Kiesler, choosing a life partner outside the constant glare of Hollywood. Their marriage has largely remained out of the public spotlight, reflecting Shannon's long-standing preference to keep her family life grounded.